If you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Remember that the mind is stronger than anything that happens to it. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Take full account of what comes to you by way of suffering and hardship, and you will find that it shapes you if you let it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. We talk a lot on this podcast about the beauty of suffering, endurance, the power of overcoming hard things. We of course talk about them in the context of ultra running and sport. But I'm sure if you're listening to this, you believe that by embracing hard things, by facing hard things, it overflows into your life. Today, I am talking to someone who has an unbelievable ability to endure physical suffering. But in the context of what he does, it is quite unbelievable how much he can push himself and his body when things don't go right. He's not only capable of being an absolute savage, he is a real performer, someone who has performed at the highest level and who recently got the backyard ultra world record assist at Dead Cow Gully in Australia with 118 laps. That's almost 800 kilometers, lap after lap. 6 days, 5 nights. Sam Harvey has an unbelievable amount of resilience, and he's someone that I had the privilege of speaking to. We recorded that conversation, and you'll get some insight into what it's like to go to the depths of hell and come back. I was really grateful to have a conversation with Sam. He's someone who I look up to in the ultra space, someone who shows what the human body is capable of. And although, as we discuss, one could argue some of this is unhealthy in some capacity, I think we can learn a lot from someone who has an otherworldly capability of going to the depths of pain and suffering and enduring and keeping going. He's someone who doesn't quit. He's someone who endures and shows us what is truly possible. Sam, thanks for coming on. Thanks for having a chat with me. I appreciate your time. Without further ramble, this is my conversation with the savage that is Sam Harvey.
40 hours worth of travel and my check bags not turning up. So I'm now in Chamonix. Yesterday was a shit show. And yeah, I've got one pair of shoes, one set of undies, one set of running shorts, one set of pants, 2 t-shirts, and two windstopper tops, and that's it.
No, man. And you're supposed to be running UTMB.
I was supposed to be, but I haven't pulled out yet, but I'll have to pull out because I just got my results back from an ultrasound, and I have a 16 millimeter tear in my right Achilles, and I've got a 19 millimeter tear in my left Achilles from Dead Cow Gully.
No. Simply.
So the left one, I pretty much did 35, 40 hours into the race, and then ran another 80 hours on it.
No.
Just for good measure, and then the right one must have ruptured. I don't know, in the last 10 hours of the race. I actually thought it was going to stop me before I got to the world record, but I managed to like soldier on.
Bruh. Absolute man.
I figured
You're a
running with one
savage.
ruptured Achilles is like doable, but like running with two ruptured Achilles is probably probably going to stop me. But yeah,
Yeah.
managed to really,
Well,
really
I
do them
guess
proper.
this is sort of an interesting topic, I think, because you know, I think I get asked this quite a lot. Like, obviously, running and runners, you know, sometimes are like the picture of health, but then there is a point in which it gets arguably unhealthy. And I
Yeah,
wanted to ask you about this. Like, I wanted to, because you know, you're a savage. You're an absolute savage, and like, we can sit here and talk about all of your records. Two-time New Zealand world record holder in the past. You've now got the world record assist, which is an insane world record. It's not just any old world record assist. And I will have in the intro kind of listed those out, so those listening will know how much of a savage you are in the backyard format. But you're also a well accomplished 100-mile racer. You're a fast runner as well, I believe, in the shorter distances. You are a complete savage, but I want to ask sort of about the nature of suffering a little bit more. I want to get into kind of this this obsession many of us have with this idea of suffering and grit and you know, what's required for you to get there, but also I kind of want to first start by asking whether you think it's all entirely healthy.
yeah. I mean, running's a little bit ironic because obviously it is healthy cardiovascularly, but I mean, it is repetitive blunt force trauma, just smashing your feet and your legs into the ground for long periods of time. I mean, like, yeah, anything's healthy until it's not. Like, too much of any good thing's a bad thing eventually. So, yeah, like, I don't know, a 1 hour run, a 2 hour run, a 3 hour run, even running for a day or so, like, that's not so bad. Running for 5 days and 5 nights straight is past past that line in the sand of being not good for you, and it's like it's a good couple of days past that line in the sand.
Yeah. So, what got you into like running super far? Did you start off as just like a sort of standard runner? Did you start in the ultra space? Or did you start off kind of running just regular 5Ks, 10Ks,
Yeah,
and that sort of thing? How did you get into it all?
yeah. So I had always done like a lot of sport, and I guess I wasn't like super sporty in high school, but like, I was playing rugby quite a bit, and then I don't know, in the years after university, I was starting to dabble in lots of different sports all at the same time. Like I was playing rugby to a pretty decent enough level. I was boxing and like I was fighting like I was doing a few fights a year. And then I was also doing like triathlon and mountain biking and a few little running races or whatever in the mix. I was just trying to do lots of stuff. And before CrossFit or hybrid athlete or anything was a brand. That's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to be this like polyathlete doing all the different things. But yeah, I guess eventually once you try all these different things, you know like you can be good, you can probably be above average at a lot of the stuff, but you're never going to be a master. And I spent a good number of years like trying to be this everything athlete, and then eventually yeah, I decided to pull away from doing everything and I just wanted to master one thing. And the thing that I was naturally best at and I was performing the highest level at was running and running ultra marathons. So like 2017, I was doing little 5K races here and there. And then I jumped straight from 5K to doing 50K in 2018. And I won that and I
Wow.
set the course record. And that was cool. But I didn't like fully ramp into the super long distance stuff. It was like a year by year progression into these super long distances. So like 2018 was a 50K, 2019 was a 100K, 2020 was a 100 mile, and then 2021 I did 250Ks. in a backyard ultra, and that was my first backyard ultra. So that was 2021, and then 2022 start of was when I decided that I wanted to go professional in ultra marathon. So I threw everything out the door, like no more boxing, no more rugby, no more triathlon, no more duathlon, no more whatever. It was just running, just ultra marathon, and then I just filled up my calendar for the next couple of years, trying to break records, win races, qualify for world championships, run at world championships and stuff like that. And so that was the decision I made, start of 2022. And then by 2023, I'd gone pro.
Amazing, man. Is it like, for you, was it always about the performance side of stuff? Is that what fascinated you about it, or was there something deeper?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I don't think there's any like one right answer for a question like that. Like it's a multifaceted thing. Like, yes, it's performance, and it's like I want to make a career out of it. So like typically if you're going to make a career out of sport or a career out of anything, you've got to be pretty good at it. So I wanted to be very good. And how do you be very good at a sport? Well, typically you go to the world championship and you win races, and you perform to the highest ability of yourself or of anybody in that sport. So that's kind of the journey that I've been on.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, there's talent there, of course. You know, it sounds like it kind of sort of came naturally in some ways, but there's an incredible amount of work that you're putting in. You know, I think like something that's impressive from your story is how you've kind of so consistently progressed. Like my own story isn't so clean in the ramping up to like 100 miles, you know, sort of started ramping a bit and then got injured and then, you know, went back down and back up, you know. And I think most people would probably relate, you know, more to a story that's a little bit more, you know, a few more setbacks. I'm sure there were setbacks in your story. It sounds though like it was all clean sailing. But like,
I mean, it definitely wasn't all clean sailing. I've had setbacks along the way, but at the same time, I don't know. I think I've picked my battles, and then I've probably got off lucky a few times. Like last year, 2024, I ran 11 ultra marathons. It's a pace of 12 months, which is pretty ridiculous. I won 6 of them. I came second in 2 of them. I got a 5th, and then I got like two thank you for comings, and that was like at 2 races that I probably shouldn't have been at anyway. They were just like little bonus ones that I threw into the calendar. So like last year was insane. This year has been a little bit more humbling, and is probably a lot more relatable to the general public because I've pretty much been injured all year. Like I won the Tarawera 100-mile race, which is like the biggest 100-mile race in New Zealand.
Yeah, I remember that. Congrats.
Like stoked with that, but at the same time, I was probably like a little bit injured going into that race, and then during the race, I tore both of my adductors and my rectus abdominis, like my 6-pack, off the bone. And so for the last 40 kilometers of that race, I was running with like all the stuff that holds you together and like kind of makes you function that wasn't attached where it's supposed to be. So I didn't think I was going to win at that point. Like I was in the lead, and I'd been leading for like 70 Ks at that point. But I thought the other boys were going to catch me because I was down to like a hobbling walk. And then I kind of pulled my head out of my ass.
It's just like the more you talk, the more it just becomes like explicitly clear that you have something in you that most people just do not have. I mean, it's obvious, right? You've got this world record assist, and to be completely honest, you know, you look at Phil Gore, and he's like, I think I heard someone describe him as like robotic in how he was operating, like right up to the 119th lap. You know, he seems like he's moving well, and he's more with it. But the thing that was for me was like just insane to watch was your level of resilience and grit. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing because it's 5 days long. But you know, when I checked in later on in the race, you know, I'd messaged you just before, and I was like, you know, go get it, let's go. And I knew what you were aiming for, and you know, you looked pretty down and out, you know, by, I don't know, sort of 80, 90 laps in or whatever.
Oh, bro, I was dealing with shit from like way earlier than I typically would have. Like Like
Yeah.
I broke the golden rule of never do anything new on race day, and I did that like four
Oh
or
yeah.
five key points in the race where I'm like, dumbass, like you get what you get what you deserve.
We've all done that.
But yeah, so like my left Achilles was probably torn like 35, 40 hours into the race, and just from like a couple like yeah, just like something rubbing in my shoe, and it eventually rubbed away at the Achilles to the point that yeah, it tore a hole in that, and I've got a pretty good tear in that Achilles now. And then I ran another 80 kilometers on it. So like yeah, Phil was mechanical and methodical and like ran like a beast. That's typically how I would like to run a race. I don't want to show everybody how resilient I am. Like that's not. I don't want to turn up and just be like, oh, we shat the bed. Oh well, let's prove our
Yeah,
point
yeah.
that we're nice and tough. Like I'd prefer to run like a machine and everything go right, but sometimes it doesn't go right like that, and it happened to go wrong very early in the race for me. And I said, well, I'm here. Like this is my job. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. Sometimes all of your rainy days hit you on the same day. So I'll just carry on and do my job. And then I just got really lucky in some ways because effectively I was expecting that Achilles to probably really rupture during the race and just totally take me out. Like I've had it probably at least once before where an Achilles injury has just blown up to the point where like one Achilles is 4 times the diameter of the other Achilles, and just like you've got no mechanical function in that ankle and you just can't bear weight, and so yeah, that's you out of the race. So I was really expecting that to be me in this one, but luckily I was able to just hold through and keep running for another 2, 3, 4 days, whatever it was on that injured ankle.
So what? I mean, what is it? I'm sure people listening are thinking like, what is it then that keeps him going? Like, most people would, most people with the injuries you described, whether it's that the 100 miler that you won despite everything, or whether it's at the backyard, like most people would just be like, oh, okay, it's not my day, sack it off. This hasn't gone my way. Like, what is it that? Firstly, what is it that keeps you going? And then second to that, let's talk a little bit about how you actually deal with pain and how you deal
Yeah.
with suffering.
Hmm. Good question. I mean, like, I'm stubborn as all hell. Like,
Right.
always have been, always will be. And like, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to be a professional runner. I'm here to be a professional ultra marathon runner in particular. It's like, this is a hard sport. It's not supposed to be easy. We try and make it a little bit easier. Like I don't want it to be hard from the get-go and then have to run through hell, but I'll do it if I have to because that's part of the job, and that's part of what I do. It's like no excuses, just turn up and get the job done. You're gonna encounter setbacks and problems and shit like that. It's just like just solve problem after problem until eventually you get where you're supposed to be. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of that's how I go about things. It's just like and a lot of the time now that I've kind of established myself in the sport, it's like, yeah, I can run world records in the backyard ultra. I can win most 100-mile races that I put my mind to, and so like now rather than being like your typical Kiwi, because like Kiwis try to be like really humble and just like turn up and be like, oh, I'll see how I go. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like this is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is when I'm gonna do it. Now watch, and then I go and do it. And then
Ah, man, I
everybody's
love
like,
that.
"Oh, you can't do that. You can't say that. You just got to turn up." I'm like, "Nah, fuck that, bro. I'm here to win. I'm here to set world records. Let's go."
Yeah,
It's
sometimes I
nice. And
mean
then,
the yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say sometimes the ultra space like it sort of got too many kind of humble characters and there's not enough spice in there. I'm a spectator as much as I am a participant. I want to see these guys really go at it, and sort of, to be honest with you, one thing that it's nice and it's kind of maybe it shows sort of friendliness to each other. One thing that always annoys me is there was this season a couple of years ago where it felt like anytime there was a close a close sort of sprint finish, they'd just end up holding hands and crossing the finish line and sort of sharing the positions. And I was like,
yeah, I'm
come
not.
on now. We want to see a bit of competitive, like, that's where we want to see it after 100 miles. We want to see if you've got it in you to race each other.
Oh hell yeah,
You're robbing us of entertainment. We don't often get a sprint finish and you're holding hands and finishing the line.
100%. And that's what I'm here to do. It's like I want to. I want to inspire the next generation of runners, and if you're going to inspire, then you need to entertain. Like you need to you need to have something that's worth looking at. So it's like, yeah, be a little bit saucy, be loud, stop being so humble or pretending to be humble, because like, man, if you're like if you're up there in endurance sport, especially ultra marathon, and you're pushing the needle, if you're like one of the best in the world, like you're not humble. And if you're being humble, like you're pretending. It's like you're putting on an image. Like if you were truly humble, then you wouldn't be trying to like do this amazing best in world type shit. So like, might as well be entertaining. Might as well put on a show for everybody.
I think that's one of the cool things as well about some of my favorite ultra runners is actually they are humble in the sense that they recognize that they've just put in the work, and you know they don't think they're special in any way, but they've put in the work. They know they're capable. But there's a very different person off the course and on the course, and I quite like that they're able to kind of switch it on and bring out what I like to call their ultra ego, which is that this alternative ultra ego that sort of is within them, and they release the beast, you know, and no one really gets to interact with that person but themselves.
100%. I mean, like look at some of the best UFC fighters in the world. In interviews with their opponents are like, oh, this dude, he's like the loveliest guy. We'll hang out, we'll go out to dinner and shit. But as soon as the cameras are on, like, he's the biggest dick in the world. Like, they're putting on a show. Like, the guy that you see in front of the camera, that's not who he is at home.
Do you think that, you know, because you make content as well, so you document certain things, you've at least, you know, you're putting it out there. Do you think you'd be doing this stuff if you weren't a coach, or if you weren't making content? Do you think you'd still be out there just getting it done? Is there something just within you that's just fascinated by these longer distances, I guess is my question.
Oh, 100%. No, I love running. And so this year has been a big struggle for me, being injured and not being able to like run as consistently as as I would like to, because like before this was my job, it was like, this was, I mean, it is my passion, but it was my passion, and it was my therapy. It was like how I would like keep the top 2 inches functioning nicely and dealing with any like kind of nasty internal dialogue that, I mean, all of us deal with. So yeah, no, I love running. I love running far. Yeah, I create the content, but I mean, it's the world we live in. Like, same for you, man. Like, we live in a world where if you want to be self-employed and a professional in this industry or any industry, and you're not working in some square-shaped box like for a paycheck, it's like you need to be the whole package. You need to be doing, I don't know, for me it's doing the running, but you need to also be like presenting a message that people can interact with, taking people along for the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Your way of doing things, you know, and the level that you're competing at, and the things, you know, the records that you're breaking, it requires a level of obsession. And quite often I talk about, quite often I talk about the fact that not everyone's as obsessed with this stuff as some, you know, and some people, there's benefit in them doing it, but then, you know, when they become too obsessed, it actually is sort of detrimental to their overall kind of state of mind and mental health and view of themselves, because they haven't got this balance. You know, like how do you, as someone at the top who has to be the most obsessed, I guess, like, how do you protect your mental health when your sport and where you're at in the sport rewards obsession?
Yeah, I think mindset's like a key thing on that front, because obviously if you're performing at the top level, I mean, you don't even need to be performing at the top level. Like, you just need to be like motivated and a high performer and like want more than the status quo in life. And then as a result, you can lock yourself into high performance purgatory where like nothing's ever good enough, regardless of how good. Like, you hate losing more than you like winning, so you're always like trying to climb these mountains, and you're like, you get there and you're like, okay, cool, next, and then like you never kind of take a second to appreciate all of the amazing shit that you've done. And so like, this year has been really good for me because it's forced me to take that step back and practice all of these like little mental toolkit things that I've like acquired over the years of like framing things the right way and using the right perspective in order to like make sure things don't go downhill. Because yeah, like I haven't maintained the momentum within my career that I would like to up well this year as I had been in previous years, but like I've still achieved like world firsts and like I'll still achieve like multiple things within 1 year that most people wouldn't achieve in their entire career in a sport. So like that's pretty cool. And at the end of the day, for me, my biggest complaint right now is that I'm not running 160 kilometers a week and kind of scratching that itch multiple times a day. Apart from that, like everything in my life is perfect. Like I've managed to pick out all of the bullshit and just really like align myself perfectly to the point where like the last 2 years of my life has just been like phenomenally awesome. So I'm like, sweet. If I'm not running as much and that's the only thing I've got to complain about, that's a pretty sweet place in life to be. So that's the way I'm looking at it right now, and have been for most of this year.
But we can get like that. I mean, for me, if it's funny, like sometimes I'll be like, oh man, I don't really want to be running this much. Like I'm in peak training. I'm just like, I can't be bothered. And then when it's taken away from me for whatever reason, I sprain my ankle or I bash my knee or something happens. I am referring to recent injuries. Then I'm like, oh man, I can't run. And so we're never really fully satisfied, right? We always want to run when we can't, and a curse in the fact that we have to run so much when we're privileged to be able to.
Oh,
I
100%.
guess
I mean, like, there's people that would give anything to be able to just be healthy, like
yeah.
just be on 2 feet. Like, there's people that aren't mobile and they would give anything to be able to walk, let alone run. Like, you're basically flying compared to what they're doing. So yeah, you got to be grateful for the things that you do have. Health is one of them, and you're especially grateful for that health when it's taken away from you.
Yeah. Is that your internal kind of dialogue with yourself? Like if you're, let's say you got a training run and it's a tough one. It's like a 90-minute training run and you're coming towards the end of it and you're like, oh, this is tough. Maybe I could just cut it short or whatever. Like, how do you speak to yourself? Is it usually, oh, I should be grateful for, like, this is a privilege, or is it a little bit more kind of
Nah, bro.
tough love?
I love running so much. Like it's there's a reason why I do what I do for a job. Like for the most part, I just run and teach people how to run, and it's because I love running so much and sharing that gift with people. So it's very rarely that I'm like out running and I'm complaining about it. And then you break it down and it's like, why are you complaining about it? Like typically the only reason I'm going to complain about a run is if I shouldn't be running. Like if I'm running through an injury or if I'm like causing an injury, it's like, yeah, you should just like take a back step. It's like chill. But for the most part, like, yeah, running is the highlight of my days. I think the only time I have found in the last couple of years where I've like really been apprehensive about getting out the door for training was March last year, 2024. I was doing 300 to 326 kilometers a week.
Oof.
And so like over 200 miles at peak. And yeah, that was averaging like 43 kilometers a day. I'd basically break it up into like a half marathon in the morning and a half marathon in the afternoon. And I was definitely in a massive calorie deficit. I was probably like a couple thousand calories in deficit every day. And
Yeah.
I wasn't enjoying it. And I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it, but that was part of it. I was trying to train the top 2 inches. I figured that volume of training, even for someone as trained as I was at the time, it was probably actually going to be physically detrimental, and it was because I definitely hurt myself a little bit and was dealing with some shit for a while. And so, yeah, that was a period of time where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Force yourself out the door, get the job done. And I just kind of framed it as like, this is only like a very short window within your training period. Like it's going to come to an end, like all things do. So just like get through it, break the back of it at least. And so like once I was a couple of weeks into it, or once I was like maybe 3 weeks into it, then I was like, cool, the bulk of the work's out the way. Like we're on the downhill now. So like we're sweet. The end's in sight. It's when you've got the bulk of the work ahead of you. That's when it can be a little bit hard. But yeah, long story short, I love running. I don't need to frame it as, or go out of my way to kind of like not cut things short, because yeah, I live for this shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the beautiful thing about running, or any endeavor that's difficult, is this kind of push and pull. And you know, we're all on a spectrum of enjoyment of the sport. You know, some people are just sort of getting into it. Maybe they're in love with this new novel thing. Maybe some people listening have kind of been running for 5 years and it feels a bit stale. And you know, I've been messaged by a few people who have said they've lost their love for running, and they were obsessed at one stage running 100 milers, and now they're just sort of, they don't know where they're at with it. And that is it. I think there's this. We have to appreciate that there's this push and pull with that. We have this relationship with running, don't we? Like, I certainly am not always in love with running. I sort of envy you for just being like, I love it all the time. Because for me, I think like I'm a little bit more kind of an all-rounder. I was very much into all different sports and stuff, and I love running for sure for what it gives me, and I do cherish it. But I am quite often having to force myself out of the door. Like I'm not always up for it. And I think, to be honest, most people who are into running, if you're looking at the general running population, most people who are into running are like having to force themselves out or balancing it, you know, with their busy lives. But there's value in that. You know, you peaking at 350k a week, and you know, under fueling and getting into a place where you're not necessarily that psyched to go out and run free. That's actually quite sort of refreshing to hear for someone who loves running so much. There is a time where you know, contextually you can live in a certain way that's going to damage your love for it in a certain capacity, but then there's value in that. And there's value in learning how to still show up despite not wanting to. And you have to practice that in training. You know, when you're 100 laps into a backyard ultra that's not been going well for you for 50 laps, you have to practice that kind of mentality of just doing it despite not wanting to, right?
Oh, 100%. And with what you've just said, like, I think there's 2 points that I want to raise. There's the showing up even when you don't want to, because getting good at something, it requires repetition, consistency over time, regardless of whether you enjoy it or not, until you eventually get to where you want to go. Now, where I'm at now is not where I've always been, and so like as I worked my way up and kind of did the training without the positive feedback to show that I was on the right track, like that does become unenjoyable. And then as a result, for most people, and I'm going to say runners, for most runners who are operating by themselves and training for long periods of time, because you're operating in a vacuum by yourself for the most part, if you don't have a coach, then you'll think yourself into a hole, because you've got to do these big massive weeks for multiple weeks and months at a time until you get better. And during that period of time, you usually, like, it becomes a job and you lose your interest, and then that's when your weeks become inconsistent, and then your progress kind of stagnates, and you reach that plateau because you haven't been smashing the nice consistently structured weeks with good volume for many weeks at a time until you get better. So there is that. It's just showing up consistently until you get better. regardless of whether you want to on the day or not. And then sometimes, I mean, very often you don't feel like going out, but yeah, you get out the door and you start running and you're like, oh yeah, I actually enjoy this. This isn't so bad. So there is that. But then, like, with anything, and I find that especially for me, being someone who has like got themselves into training very high volumes for long blocks at a time, it's like you can turn anything into a job and you can make anything unenjoyable. So like if you're running 160 kilometers a week, doesn't even have to be 160 kilometers a week. You could just be running what is a lot for you. And if you're running it in the same boring scenery and it's always repetitive, it's the same old thing, there's no novelty, then yeah, like, sure, you're 100% going to lose your love for what you're doing.
Quick interruption before my favourite part of this episode with Sam. Since leaving my job in November, I've been working really hard on one thing, and that is to try and build the best offering I have yet. I qualified as a personal trainer a few years ago. That was the nucleus for me making content on social media, but it didn't quite work out back then. I went back into the tech world, and I've just been working hard to build a good, sustainable offering that can really help you become a more durable runner. The focus here is on strength training, but it's a full running program, a full strength training program. There are resources in there about all sorts, whether it's shin splints or mobility or getting to know your body. It's an introduction to strength training if you're at that level, but we have advanced runners in there, people training for ultra marathons, mountain races. We have people training for a half marathon. It's a full app experience, access to me in a private chat, a community in there that is supportive. We have a Strava club. I take new intakes on the first Monday of every month. I've left the link in the show notes, so pick up your phone, go to the show notes, check it out whilst you're listening, and I really hope to see you in there. Okay, back to my conversation with Sam.
For the most part, if you're a runner, you love running because it's like it's escapism, it's adventure, it's getting away from like the boring shit that you're doing. But if you want to get any good at the sport, then you've got to ramp up the volume and you've got to ramp up the amount of runs that you do within the week, and then you've got to hold that. And if you're doing it the same route, the same scenery, the same shit, the same workouts, whatever, it's like you've lost all the novelty. It's the same shit every day. You've turned it into a job, and yeah, things go downhill from there. I was very particular when I moved up to kind of the elite level training that got me from like being kind of above average to allowing myself to go pro. I linked up with coach, and he put 160 kilometer weeks on my plate from day one. And I was like, oh, okay. Ramping up from like inconsistent weeks around like 100 kilometers to 120, maybe 140 if at a push, to like, righto, we're doing 160 kilometers with structure. So like quality runs, which makes it even harder. And then you're doing it week after week after week after week. And I knew at that point, it's like, okay, this is a lot of running. And I was living in like a different city, but not the best scenery in that city. So I was very particular with my runs. Okay, I'm going to be running twice a day, most days. I can't run the same route twice in a week. Or I think I got it to the point where I couldn't run the same route twice within 2 weeks. And that's a lot of runs. That's a lot of running. And as a result, I had to be very creative with how I was doing my runs, and to ensure that the scenery was always novel, something new, something entertaining. And so, yeah, I was running, I don't know, anywhere from like 12 to like 16 or 17 hours a week. But because I was so particular with how I was doing my running, I was able to keep it fun and interesting and not turn it into too much of a job, because you can very much turn this shit into a job and then make it unfun. Likewise with like racing, if you do too many races within a set period of time, especially if they're like the really long ones, like if you're getting into the 100K, 100 mile or backyard ultra format, and you're doing like one of them every like month or two for like a long period of time, like, yeah, you're probably going to hate racing or running in general after a period of time, because you're just like, you're always in like a fight or flight, because you're just in survival mode from like doing too much hard shit.
That's such good advice, man. Such good advice. I think that's going to stick with me. Don't make this a job. I think that's going to
100%.
stick
Like
with
it is
me
a
because
job, but
I
like it
think,
doesn't. You can love your job if you don't turn it into, yeah, in quotes, a job.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean when you say that. I used to have a boss he was like my first boss, and I always talk about him because he was a real character. And I hated the job, to be honest. And I, go into the office and I hated how it felt like routine, it felt like mundane. But he always came in with like a different energy. He came in with this like real energy, like it was a new day, like everything he was doing was interesting, and he was having fun with it, and he was playful, and we're talking about like financial, like M&A tech. Like this is pretty boring stuff in my opinion. And he found it like fascinating, interesting. He'd been doing it for 2 decades, and he just loved it. But his approach was, when I reflect on it, I just think about his approach, and he didn't treat it like a job. He treated it like just part of his life. He actually said, he did say to me once, and it was a pretty toxic culture, but we won't go into it. But he did say to me once, "You have to live and breathe this shit." And I think really what he meant by that was, you have to live and breathe this shit. Like this, it's not that you have to live and breathe your job. You have to make it part of you. And if you're gonna make it part of you, you have to love it. You have to just love what this is all about. It has to be part of your identity. It really has to be you. And that doesn't happen. Like I often tell people, this is a gift. It's a privilege to run and all this. But actually what you said is practical advice in terms of how you can treat this as a gift. If it is such a gift, make the most of it. Find new routes. Go to places you've never been. Like I found a new spot recently. I've lived in London for the best part of 9 years. I found a new spot not long ago. I was like, I've never been in this woodland. This is insane. How have I never run here? And it was like really, interesting. And whenever I leave London and I'm running in the country, I'm always like, the time just goes past because I'm in a new place and I'm enjoying it and it's novel. It's a privilege, yes, but if it is a privilege, make the most of it. Act like it's a privilege. Don't act like it's a job. I love that.
100%. And like all of that being said, you can try to frame everything nicely and use mindset and whatever to make it your thing or enjoy your thing. But at the same time, for a percentage of the population, especially like let's focus on trail running and ultra running and stuff. There's a lot of people that, because it's one of these fancy like it things at the moment, there's a lot of people that are forcing running and ultra running and trail running to be their thing, and like they're not getting the results and they're not getting the returns that they want, and they've been at it for a very long time. Like it's okay to try something and find out that it's not your thing. You don't need to like try it and force it to be your thing and like live and breathe it for no return. Like eventually you try something and you're like, actually this maybe isn't for me. I actually like this thing over there that's been kind of sitting in the background for a while. Like I'm maybe going to focus on that. That's actually like a really adult way of doing things. It's like not everything is going to be for you just because you decide it's going to be for you. Like if you're not getting the enjoyment out of it, even though you've tried hitting it from all these different angles, it's like, yeah, it's okay to be like, yeah, I tried that. Maybe it's not what I want to make my life about, and I'm going to go this way. It's just like I didn't get into ultramarathon running from the get-go and say, yo, this is for me. Like I was trying so many different things for a very long time, and yeah, I had this delusion of grandeur from the time that I was like 17, 18, 19, that I wanted to be a professional athlete one day. But there was always like a pie in the sky type thing. But as a result, I focused on career and all the things that you should be doing at that type of age. But at the same time, in the background, I was just playing. I was doing all these different sports. I was keeping fit. I was being active, and I was just trying things, and I was adding things to my plethora of what I could potentially try to do in life. And then, yeah, eventually I I figured that this one thing that I was trying on the side here was actually going to be my main thing, and that's when I started to push all the other stuff out, because like maybe I was a little bit gifted at it, but I was also working hard at it and getting the returns, and I was enjoying it, and it wasn't super forced for me.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more. And your approach to that thing that you find passion in also has to be in a way that you can be passionate about. I think if you are passionate about something, it might be that you're passionate about running, but you're specifically passionate about short distance running, or you're specifically passionate about ultra running, or me, for example, I have absolutely zero interest in running road marathons right now. Like it just does not interest me. I specifically have interest in running mountain ultras and going on adventures like that, and using my love for running to travel and, do these things. I recently did Devil's Gulch, and the whole experience of this 100-mile race in Washington State was just so much fun. Like I fell in love with what I love again, because I am approaching this sport the way I want to approach it. And in the same vein, I want to go to the gym and do full body work in the gym. I adore working out in the gym. I love the feeling of having a big pump on, and that's just me. That's my thing. It might be that, if I'm maybe in the winter, for example, quite often in the winter, I'll do a lot of strength training, and I'll do a lot of full body strength training, heavy lifts, and I might be putting on arguably too much weight for a runner. I'm aiming to put on more weight because I want to feel like that. But that's how I want to approach it. My goals aren't the same as the next person's. And,
100%.
I think that should be the same for everyone. I think everyone should find exactly what they love in it and do that. Because what are we doing here? If we're not talking about passion, if we're not talking about like a 100%. Hobby.
And like taking you back a second, because in that bit you said, not interested in road marathons, I'm more interested in trail ultras and adventures. And I wanted to focus on adventures being the key word that you used as a descriptor in there, because that's what my focus is. And yeah, like adventures can be emphasized because it's like, yeah, it's an adventure. It's an escape. It's fun. Adventures are fun. Let's keep it fun. That's kind of been like since Dead Cow Gully, which like it was big, but it wasn't enjoyable. And so like since then I've just been like trying to emphasize, let's have more fun. Like let's try and like focus my career a little bit around having more fun. So like, yeah, going off the kind of of what we've been chatting about in the last few minutes about like trying to keep it novel, trying to like not turn the job into a job. It's like, yeah, have more adventures, focus on the adventures, try not to make it repetitive, have fun.
Yeah, you want to be going over a finish line smiling rather than flopped onto a chair disabled.
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like different types of fun, isn't it? I think like it is still an adventure. Like Dead Cow Gully, that's a different type of adventure. It's not necessarily fun in the moment, but the whole, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the whole experience of it, I'm sure you wouldn't change, right? Or maybe you would. But it's a cool memory.
A hard one. My brain's been struggling to process that one.
Yeah. And
I think it's because that race in particular for me has like become not an adventure. Like it's my third year in a row of running it. I came second in 2023 and like ran the world record and helped Phil to his first world record. So that was 2023. Then 2024, I went back and I won it in 69 hours. And then this year I've gone back for a third time in a row to have the same result, like same location, same field for the most part, same result, like another world record, helping Phil to get his world record again. And like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result. And I've been doing the same thing repeatedly, or at least two of those 3 attempts, I got the same result. So my brain's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, this is dumb. And yeah, you get that with a lot of like the elite guys in backyard ultra, like some of the best in the world, and they're like, this is so fucking stupid. I don't enjoy this sport. I don't know why I'm here. It's like I haven't encountered that in any other kind of format of racing where you get like the best guys in the world and they're like, I guess we're here again. I don't want to be here, but I'm here. It's like it's dumb. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a special case scenario because I don't know. 5 days and nights of running is just your brain and your body don't enjoy it too much.
Yeah, it's a different thing, isn't it? Because you basically the format allows for you to go incredibly far and truly find your limit. And so like it's very unique in that way. Like you might run a 100 miler or even, a 200 miler, and you might not find your limit necessarily. But in the context of it, like if you're going for if you've got world-class athletes around you, if you're surrounded by like the likes of Harvey Lewis and Phil Gore, you've got a team of people that are like, right, this is gonna go for a while, we've got the potential to do a world record here. And so you really are finding the limit of your capabilities. And so I guess it's a very unique thing because whilst there are times in a 100 miler or something where you have to fight off your demons and push through, you truly are getting to the end of your tether on a backyard. And I wanted to get to this at some point in our conversation, but how did Dead Cow Gully end for you, Sam? How did it truly end?
My desire to be there ended.
Okay.
And honestly, like my desire to be there ended after like 102, 103 hours.
Yeah.
And like it got to the point where I think there was maybe 5 of us. I think there was 5 of us that reached 100 loops. So,
wow.
So there was
so
there was me, Phil, and Marianne, who had all run 100 plus before. And then there was Jonathan Ashford from Australia and Oriol Santoli from Spain. They were still some of the best guys in the world, like in the top 10 or top 20 in the world. But they'd never run 100, so they broke into the 100 zone for the first time. And I think there's only like maybe 12 or so of us in the world that have ever gone more than 100 loops at this point. And yeah, and then quickly after 100, like we lost the boys, and then I think by loop 103 or 104, it was just me and Phil. And at that point, I was like, oh, my brain was like, I've been here before. It's like same place, same guy, unenjoyable. Like I want to go home. Don't really want to be here anymore, especially with like having like the body had fallen apart. Like I hadn't run my perfect race like I like running, like thriving through it, like running through the first day or two and it being a shit show, and then eventually you iron out all the kinks, and like day 3 and day 4 are actually usually easier than day 1 and 2. Well, like wasn't so much the case for me. It was kind of like got to day 2 and things were going bad because I was just having mechanical breakdown, and then it didn't really get much easier. So I was just fucking pushing through for the next number of days, and then when it was down to the 2 of us, I was just like, oh, lame.
Yeah.
Like there's no novelty in this. There's no fun in this anymore. Yeah. And I did look at quitting on like loop 103, 104, especially because like Phil had like sprinted off into the distance. And I was like, oh, whatever. But then I got my shit together and then carried on and finished that 5th day of running. Like ran through the Wednesday day of just me and Phil, and then ran into the Wednesday night, and then we ran through the Wednesday night. And like it's the middle of winter, so like the nights are just so hellishly long and overwhelming. It's like it's not enjoyable already, and then you go and make it dark, and your brain, like we're diurnal animals, so like our brain wants to be awake during this sunlight hours, and it wants to be asleep during the night. And so when you get into the night, like your brain starts like really switching off and getting tired and wanting you to just call it quits and go to sleep. So you're having to do a lot of like system override and just stay strong in those moments. And must have been like within 10 hours of the end of my race. I'd been running with a ruptured left Achilles, but then my right Achilles, I felt it pop like mid stride. And I was like, oh shit. And I like hit the deck. And then I like did a bit of an assessment. I like palpated the area and I could like feel the lump. And I was like, oh shit, that might be my race gone. Like you can run with one busted Achilles, but running with two busted Achilles, I'm not sure if I can do that. And then I got up and I started like running again. I was like, hey, this is actually working. Like I can run through this level of pain. So I just carried on doing that. But like I was so tired because I'd been dealing with the busted Achilles on the left from like really early in the race. I'd gone from running my nice fast loops like I wanted to run, like me, Jonathan Ashford, and Phil, we were all running pretty fast loops together for the first couple of days, and then my left Achilles went pop, and I was like, oh shit, I got to slow down, because if I keep running this fast pace, then my like partially torn or damaged Achilles is just going to go out the window. So I need to slow down in order to preserve it. But as a result, like I wasn't getting the amount of sleep that I would typically like to get. And like once you slow down, it's pretty hard to speed up again, especially if like you've trapped yourself in this like toxic spiral of like I'm going slow, and then as a result I'm getting less sleep or I'm getting less rest, so I'm not recovering as much. So as a result, you stay slow or you get slower. And so that's what I'd been dealing with for a couple of days. And then so by the time we reached that fifth night on Wednesday night, like I'd had such minimal amounts of sleep at that point that just everything was falling apart. And like mechanically, like my ankles or cankles, like everything was just blown up to the point of like there shouldn't be the amount of mechanical function that I'm forcing through these moving parts right now, but I'm still grinding it out. And I was trying to push through to Thursday morning. I wanted to see the sunlight of Thursday morning, because like the world record a couple of years ago was like Wednesday morning / Wednesday during the day, but now we're running through the Wednesday into the Thursday night and then through the Thursday night. So at this point, nobody's run into sunlight of Thursday morning, and I wanted me and Phil to be the first guys to do that, and I wanted to get 800 kilometers, but I was falling apart. The last couple of laps I ran, I ran them with like a minute or so to spare, and I've never run loops as slow as I ran at Dead Cow Gully, or as consistently slow as I ran them. And you've got to think about it this way: like somebody who runs a 45-minute loop or a 44-minute loop versus someone who's running a 59-minute loop and only having 1 minute of rest. Well, over the space of 4 hours of 4 loops, that person who's running 45-minute loops has had an entire hour off their feet compared to the person who's running 59. So that person who's running 59 has essentially been out there for that entire 4-hour period, whilst that other person has had a full hour of sitting down, resting, potentially sleep. And like if you're running 40-minute loops, then you're getting way more rest than that. Now you extrapolate that over a period of not just 4 hours, but say like 8 hours or 12 hours or longer, then that other person has had multiple hours of time off feet and sleeping and recovering and showering and doing all these other peripheral tasks to ensure that their machine stays well oiled, whilst the other person's literally just out there with their thoughts and the pain that's going through their body and like kind of no respite from that. And that's essentially what I'd done by the time we reached my stopping point at I was on the 119th loop. And so we're out, like we started the 119th loop, but like the last couple of loops, I don't know how I managed to get through them. Like I'd been working with some mechanical malfunctions for days at this point, but they were getting to the point where it's like, even, yeah, you want to like rub some anti-inflammatory balm on this thing. No, it hurts to even touch. Like if you try to take the sock off to like get at it, like it's going to be excruciating and I'm going to be screaming. So yeah, things weren't working. I was shuffling through, and then yeah, my desire just kind of finally went. I was like, fuck, I really want to make the 800 Ks. I want to make Sunrise, but at the same time, just like, you know what, my want has gone out of it at this point. I mean, at this point, I'd run 2 loops or 2 hours more than what the world record had been going into that world record. So essentially, like I had hit my A goal of breaking the world record. It's just I wasn't getting that very top spot, and I having to take second place again, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Like I turned up, I threw down, I did my job for the most part, and yeah, at the time I could go home happy. I've since had like multiple weeks to stew on it, and I'm like, oh bro, like you should have, but you didn't. So close, but like not close enough. So yeah, frame it nicely though. Like it was a world record. I didn't get to keep the world record, but it was still a world record run, and yeah, got to be happy with that. So yeah,
you absolutely.
I guess yeah. Absolute... Sorry. Long story short, my want finally reached its limit, and that's typically the way that it ends with these things, regardless of what level you're at. Whether you're beginner through to elite, whether you're just starting or the best in the world, your end result will be how much you want it. And typically the guy who's going to win is the guy who wants it the most. And unfortunately for me, it's just I was dealing with more problems than I'm typically used to, and as a result, my desire for it was tested that little bit more, and on a 119 loops, it finally reached its end.
Well, man, I think you should be incredibly proud because you're an absolute savage, and it's been a privilege to talk to someone who's truly been to hell and come back and tell us what it's like. You blow my mind, man. Honestly, you blow my small mind. It is just insane what you did out there and what you continue to do and show the world what's possible. Thanks for coming on, man. It's been nothing but a pleasure to have a chat with you and record it. And all the best for the future. What have you got? What have you got coming up? I guess obviously you're playing it by ear when it comes to UTMB, and you're trying to fix your body up. But what are the sort of medium to long term plans?
Yeah, no, I got to France yesterday on what's supposed to be like a multiple week training camp, getting used to the terrain and the elevation and the course here in Chamonix for UTMB. But I mean, with the state of my Achilles tendons, I can't logically race UTMB, especially with like wanting to be a good professional about things and like, I don't know, pick my battles. And so like I'm not in the state that I'm in and the way that I've been training to date, like I can't realistically go for a podium at UTMB or anything of significance that's worth writing home about. So pretty much the 6 weeks that I'm here in Europe, I'll just rehab and I'll try and get myself back into a healthy state where I'm training and just pretty much do all the things that will promote my Achilles tendons to fully heal. And then I've got Big's Backyard, which is the Backyard Ultra World Championship in Tennessee in October. And so that realistically needs to be my focus for now. It's like just get everything working and healthy to the point where it's not going to come undone when I go and race that. And yeah, like there's only 6 weeks from UTMB to that event. And even if I was at max health, even if I went and raced it, like I would still have such a big window to come back from that and then try and do bigs. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise that I am now forced to not do UTMB, focus on bigs, go to bigs, throw down, and we'll see if the body is ready to take a podium spot or a win at the Backyard Ultra World Championship, and then I've got the Spectacle in New Zealand, which is like it's a new running festival that has both like road races and trail ultras. It's pretty cool, and they held it for the first time last year in New Zealand, and they're holding it again this year. I'll go and race that and just have a bit more fun, because it is a fun event. It's a fun race, so I just want to have fun at that. And then going into next year, I've accepted a spot at Cocodona 250, which it'll be my first year racing Cocodona. It's a pretty big name event, so realistically, that is a race that I would like to turn up and do well at and win. And I think I've got the capacity to win, given the number of like 200 plus, 300, 400 mile events that I've run at and done well. So Cocodona will be a big one for next year. And then I really just need to have a sit down and kind of plan out my calendar, because I went shopping at the start of 2022 when I decided I wanted to go pro and ultra, and I kind of filled my calendar for the next few years. Like, I've done a few like little pop-up events and things that have caught my eye along the way, but for the most part, the last 3 years has been pretty well roadmapped up to where I am now at UTMB. So going into next year, I don't quite have the path sorted that I would typically like to have, but that's cool because it allows me to sit down and then plan things out. And I just want to find new races, new countries that I've never raced before, and key thing, just have more fun. So what next year will look like, apart from Cocodona 250 and maybe the BPN Backyard Ultra, which is around about the same time. Like those are kind of earmarked at the moment, but for the most part, it's like I have free reign to kind of fill my calendar for next year and the year after, which is pretty cool. So I honestly don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll just be trying to have as much fun with it as I can.
I love it, man. Awesome. Sounds exciting. I can't wait to continue, cheering for you from afar. That's a really exciting sort of plan going forward. I hope also you're not too envious as you're soaking up the atmosphere in the next month of all these runners. If you don't manage to get to the start
like there's a lot of people that are obviously training for UTMB here in Chamonix, and you can like tell, and they're all like running in their little groups. I don't know if they're like friends that have come here together, or like there's obviously a lot of people that are just like, hey, you're a runner, I'm a runner, we're doing this, we're going to train this segment of UTMB today, and they all link up and they go on their thing, and I'm like, oh fuck, I would love to be going with you guys. And they're all like scoping each other out. You can see them in public, like with all their like fancy running kit on, and they spot each other, like, oh, you look sporty, oh, you're wearing the right stuff, and then they size each other up, and then like they'll spot me, who's obviously like kind of looking a little bit athletic, and I'm like, I'm kind of not one of you right now. Like, all you guys are here like doing your job, and I'm just kind of here as a spectator at this point.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sam. I hope you felt inspired by his mental fortitude and ability to keep going no matter what. If you have come this far, I would massively appreciate you leaving this podcast a rating. If you're new around here and you haven't listened to enough episodes to really have an opinion on whether to rate it or not, go and check out some of the other episodes. I do solo episodes as well, which are more sort of coaching dense. We've been doing a bit of a flurry of guest episodes, but we'll be back with a few more solo episodes. We've got some fun run biz segments as well coming up. So we have some businesses in the running space coming on for a little segment and to chat to me about what they're up to and why they're up to it. And then finally, every first Monday of each month, I take on a new cohort of group coaching clients. If you're interested in having a look at that, there's a link in the show notes. Okay, that's it from me. As always, run the runnable. Keep showing up for yourself, and I'll see you next time.